Hey friends, it's Julie. Welcome back to Row & Co Farms. Today we're going to be putting our brand new pressure canner to use by making a turkey sloppy joe mix. I can't wait to show it to you guys, so come along, let's go. Hey friends, I'm back. So let's get to making this sloppy joe mix. I have my ground turkey here, tomatoes, lots of delicious spices. We got to add a little bit of sweetness with some brown sugar, and then also have a little tomato paste, some onions, and some green peppers that we had frozen. They're a little bit thawed now, but that's totally fine. We'll just give those a little chop, and then we will add those into our mix. I also had a few green onions that were in my garden, and I'm going to chop those up and use those as well. So let's get started by browning our meat, and then I'm gonna go ahead and get my pressure canner, which is back here behind us. I'm gonna get that set up and on the stove and get some water heating in there, so that way we're ready for the canning process when we get ready for that. We're going to be canning up pints today, so I'm gonna go also grab my jars out of the pantry. And I think we will be able to get 2 big batches. I say 2 big batches, 2 of the 7 jar batches. So 14 pints out of this mix. And then if there's any left over, we will eat that for dinner tonight. So come along guys, let's make our first pressure canning recipe in our new pressure canner. I'm really, really excited to use this thing. Let's get started. So I've got my skillets set up here. I'm going to be cooking off my meat in these 2 pans, and I'm going to cook my sauteed onions and veggies in here, and that will speed the process up just a little bit instead of slowing me down. So we go ahead and get our meat put in here. So in here I've got 4 cups of onions and 4 cups of peppers. It might be a little too many peppers, but that's all right. We're gonna use them because we have them. So to this mixture here, we've got it moved over into our roaster pan. We're gonna add in, this is 8 cups of tomato sauce. That's stirred in. I'm sure I'm gonna need a little bit more. I'm just kind of judging it by how it looks as I make it. Yeah, we're definitely gonna need a little bit more. So I'll go ahead and grab another can. So along with this extra tomato sauce, I'm gonna add tomato paste, some mustard, some salt, lots of spices. I'll make sure to list all this down below. Some brown sugar, and then finally we'll get that all mixed together so it'll be ready for the canner. All right, so I'm just making sure I have enough water in my canner. Generally, you want at least 3 inches of water in your canner, and I probably have about 2 right now, which by the time we add our jars in, that's gonna displace the water a little bit more, so I think this is gonna be perfect. Always check your canner's instructions for the amount of water you need to have in your canner. All right, so we are ready with our jars. Our meat sauce is boiling in this pot here, this roaster. And now we're going to just ladle all of this into our jars. We're gonna be leaving an inch of headspace. Okay, so I've got my debubbler here. I just wanna make sure that I take out any air bubbles as much as possible. And that looks good. There we go. Moving on, next one. So I'm just going to proceed to fill my jars to 1-inch headspace and use my debubbler to remove any air bubbles inside the jars. Once I'm done filling my jars, I'm going to make sure that I wipe the rims down with a little bit of vinegar on a paper towel to make sure there's no debris or fat or little particles of any kind. That's going to make sure that we attain a good seal on our jars. Next, apply your lids and rings and screw them down just hand tight, and then we'll take them over and put them in the canner. So we've got all of our jars filled, and we're going to start loading them into our canner. I ended up with 14 jars of the Sloppy Joe mix, and then I went ahead and added 5 jars of canned beans, or they will be canned, 5 jars of beans, dry beans, to the mix here because I don't want to run the canner without filling it all the way up. If I can fill this thing up with 5 more jars of food, then that's what I'm going to do. And the pressure canning time for beans is actually the same as for the poultry. That's all for the first level. I add my plate in here. So when you put the lid on this thing, you have to line up. There's an arrow you line up. Just get it set down, and then you turn it to get it latched. And make sure everything is really straight. And then you use the opposite latches here to gently. No, this looks like it's off a little bit. Last set. Say you want to tighten them as tight as you can hand tighten them. I'm just looking to see if my edge, if everything looks pretty even, and it does. And so now we're going to just let this come up to heat. We're going to allow steam to come out of our vent here. And once this is steaming for 10 minutes straight, like solid heavy steam, then we will go ahead and add our weight to this. So we'll come back in a few minutes when the pressure is getting higher. It'll probably take at least 15 or 20 minutes for all this to get ready. So you can see how the steam is coming out of our vent really, really heavily there, and that's what we're looking for. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to place our 10-pound pressure weight. You see the numbers on there? You just turn it, the one that you want. So we're going to put that on, and then we're going to watch our pressure gauge here to see it reach 10. And when it does that, we should see this slowly start to jiggle a little bit, and we'll know that we've reached pressure. And then we'll start our timer for 1 hour and 15 minutes. So you can see our gauge has reached our 10-pound pressure. We're actually just a little bit above, which is fine. And now we'll start our timer. So our time is up. I've turned off the burner, and now I'm just going to let the pressure come down naturally in the pressure canner. We will not remove that weight. It's probably going to take at least an hour, probably closer to 2, for the pressure to come down, and then we will remove the lid and take the contents out at that time. So I'll be back. So our pressure has come all the way down to 0. You can see on the gauge here. It's much quieter inside here, but it is still boiling. I can hear it bubbling in there. So we can go ahead and remove our gauge up here. I'm gonna get a glove on because this is all gonna be very hot. And then we can go ahead and release our valves and stuff here. So we're gonna lay a cloth down. I'm gonna go ahead and remove this weight. Just set that there for now. We still have plenty of water in the canner, which is great because you never want it to boil down to dry while it's going through its process. If you do that, you can ruin your canner completely. So we're going to let this sit for at least 5 more minutes so that the temperature in the room and the temperature inside here can start to equalize just a little bit, because we don't want to shock our jars. The glass can break if it gets shocked into too cold or too hot. And right now, because it's so hot, we're just going to let it just cool off just a little bit more before we move it into this space in the room. So I'll come back in just a minute and we'll take everything out. So now we wait. Just gonna check my rings here. Most of these should be tight. Yeah, you can definitely see this still has a lot of pressure in it. So does this one, this one, this one. They're still raised up pretty high. But you can see where some of these other ones have already started to seal down. All right, so we're just gonna leave these alone. I'm not gonna touch them. They're gonna sit here definitely until the morning, and then we will check the seals and make sure that everything is sealed up. Anything that does not seal up will be eaten right away. So it's a great little collection here, and I can't wait to put it in the pantry tomorrow. All right, guys, I'm going to bed, so I will see you tomorrow. Well, guys, I'd say that our first test run with the pressure canner was a success. We got 18 jars of food to put on our pantry shelf. We have 14 jars of this wonderful Sloppy Joe mix, and we got 4 jars of black beans. So, successful run with the canner, and I cannot wait to bring you more canning videos, recipes, all the stuff that I'm gonna be canning to put on our pantry shelf. It's coming, guys. I'm gonna do another run tomorrow, so I'll be sure to bring that to you guys. And yeah, success. Super proud of this. All right, guys, I'm gonna leave links to recipes down below. I'm gonna leave a link to that canner down below as well. But yeah, if you are interested in canning, homesteading, and all the fun stuff that we do here, make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so that you'll get all the new notifications when a new video comes out. And I'll see you next time here at Row & Co Farms.